Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in 4 different tanks, and this is the Cold War version of the 3 videos I've done. It's going to be the second upload for today, and we're going to go over 4 great replays we had in 4 different tanks in Cold War, showing off the replays that I just want to get out there before they become kind of obsolete by tomorrow, right, when the new crew and equipment system comes out. So if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. And yeah, the tanks we're going to look at is the Era 2 Eastern Alliance heavy tank, the Footcruiser that you're seeing here, the Western Alliance Era 2 medium tank, the 30B2, the Independent Era 1 heavy tank, the Throngver, and the Eastern Alliance Era 2 premium heavy tank, the 272M. So, we start here with the Mohawk of Doom. Yeah, the Footcruiser, it's got this double barrel system, which is really deadly when the shells hit. The APCR shells, or they're not APCR shells on this vehicle, is it? It's APDS shells. The APDS shells on this vehicle, when they do hit, because it can be a bit derpy when you double barrel with it, are deadly. It's over 1,000 damage in 2 hits when the shells hit. But you've also got the ability to double barrel these ATGMs. And as you can see here, they hurt. 1,700 damage in 1 salvo there of these ATGMs. Yeah, these double barrel ATGMs are pure memes. It is literally pure memes here on the Footcruiser with the double barrel ATGMs, and that's why I enjoy this vehicle so much. The other thing is, this vehicle is also a very, very good rammer. Don't underestimate how good at ramming this thing is. It can tap things for 200 to 300 damage easily. And you sit there going, wow, and it's because it's a really heavy tank. It doesn't actually tell you in game what the weight of the vehicle is, and it's a stat that I wish that they'd put in the game, is just how heavy the tank is, because it's nice to know, because especially if something's quite mobile and it's got a heavy weight, you can go, oh, I can ram quite effective with this vehicle, and you know that, okay, that thing's quite light, I can do a load of damage to that ramming. So I wish it was in game, but there you go. But it is a really heavy tank, naturally, as it is a heavy tank. And it travels pretty quickly with a 56 km/h top speed, 18.6 km/h reverse speed, and you've got a 20.91 horsepower per ton ratio with that 1400 horsepower engine. Which means you do get to the top speed really, really easily. The terrain resistances are fine, they don't hold the tank back whatsoever. And that means that, yeah, this thing can actually be a pretty effective rammer. Now, obviously at the minute, in this replay you're seeing here, we've got the traction system on, so we do go at nearly 62. Oh my lord! That is an Amorak on tracks. Losing its Amorak. Yep. Oh yeah. You know that when ATGMs enter the drive wheel of a chieftain, that head goes bye-bye. You know? Oh, chieftains are terrible in Cold War 4, that. As soon as an ATGM enters that drive wheel, oh boy, or the left or right-hand side of the lower plate, yeah, goodbye head, generally. But yeah, the vehicle is really quite mobile, and at the minute, in this replay, we've got the traction system, which means we go to 62 kilometers an hour. Now, the traction system naturally isn't going to exist after the current equipment system. It's going to become Grousers or something like that, which gives you better terrain resistances. The way to get the better speed is to have the powertrain, or whatever that's going to be, come, which is, I think, maybe a turbo. I can't remember what the name of all the new stuff is. But yeah, it's going to only be a 5% boost to your top speed, just like the powertrain, which is as fast as you're going to be able to get, unless you put fuel on as well. So you're still going to get some extra top speed, but not as much as you can have now. So yeah, it's a very mobile tank. It does ram very well. Like I say, the gun is a bit derpy, though. It's got 0.34 accuracy at 100 meters, this gun. Or the double gun, as it is. Which is actually pretty accurate. And even with some of the crew skills after the changes, you're still going to get a pretty accurate gun in terms of base statistic. But for some reason in Cold War, you can have a gun with the same accuracy as something in World War II, and it's a pure laser in World War II having that kind of accuracy. But in Cold War, for some reason, it doesn't matter. It just goes, yeah, you know what, I'm just a derpy gun. Doesn't matter that you've got 0.25 accuracy, I'm as derpy as a 0.4 accuracy gun in World War II. Doesn't make sense. Hasn't ever made sense, but there we go. So yeah, you got 0.34 accuracy at 100 meters, which is fairly accurate. It does have a 2.5 second aim time, though, which does take a wee bit to get it aimed in. So do bear with it when you are trying to get this gun aimed in to be able to double barrel things or just fire single shot, because that's the nice thing about the double barrel system. You can just be a single shot, or you can be a double shot. You've got 401mm of penetration on the standard APDS rounds with 1620 meters a second shell velocity, which the shell velocity is great, absolutely fantastic. And the 401 pen will go through most vehicles. Some of the more heavily armoured vehicles, like a 4211, it can be a bit of a pain. But you can go through things like their cupola. Generally, it will go through most vehicles. You've got premium heat rounds, though, like I say, with 520 penetration. I don't bother. I don't bother with the heat at all. Don't ever use it because heat rounds are too unreliable in Era 2, especially with the most amount of spaced armor knocking around, which can be very, very irritating to use, especially when you have to wait for the reload and then the shells just get absorbed. And you've got 600mm of penetration on the standard ATGM round as well, for which you get 4 per gun, which have 308 meters a second shell velocity, which is pretty decent for a ATGM. Which means they fly pretty well, and 600 pen is good. It's not great like some of the ATGMs in Era 2, but it's still good enough that you'll go through most vehicles you're going to face. And when you've seen, well, when you can do what we've done in this game so far, where we get those beautiful double-barrel ATGMs off and you just destroy things that easily, it is a glorious, glorious time, honestly. It really is. And your reloads are a 12.2 second reload per gun, so it does take a wee while to get the reloads in, but that's to balance the fact that, you know, you've got this double barrel mechanic, and also it's a little bit longer to reload the ATGMs because of the fact that ATGMs do load a little bit longer than the APDS rounds. But you got 540 alpha, like I say, on the main cannon, which adds up to that 1 point something K damage burst, which, or 1080 damage burst, which is just, yes, so deadly when you get it off. You've seen it so much in this game. We did it to a weasel that was trying to get round us. We double barreled him for over 1,000. When you get the double barrel ATGMs off, that poor chieftain got done for 3k because, you know, you got high module damage on the ATGMs as well. So if they're hitting Armour rack, oh boy, it's going to go badly for them. But this game here on this map, which is Fredvang, we've managed to get nearly 12k damage with 274 assistance, and sadly, the last tank alive tried to do a jump kill on the Magak 5, failed. The Magak 5 men ended up dying, and yeah, well, so did the other Footcruiser. But finished the game with 5 kills, 12k damage, nearly 274 assistance. The ace tanker, the long-range blast for getting the ATGM kills over 600 meters, which, you know, that poor chieftain with the Armour rack, but there you go. And that's the Footcruiser, which is just a truly fantastic vehicle. It really is. Those double-barrel ATGMs are just wow. Like, the memes you get from using them is absolutely fabulous. But now we're on to the second replay, and the second replay is the Western Alliance Era 2 tech tree medium tank, the AMX 30B2, which is the middle era vehicle for the French Leclerc tech tree. So this is the one that comes before the Brennus, and it's a vehicle that, yeah, I really enjoyed playing. I thought it was really solid. If you've played the MX 30B2 4AD, you know what's coming, because the tanks are basically identical. There's just some minor stat differences, and the MX 30Bs in Era 2 and Cold War are absolutely fantastic because the auto cannons are deadly, as you've just seen for use, and the main gun is also pretty good. The only downside to the MX-30s is the fact that your standard round is a heat round, which is, again, like I said in the previous replay, very, very awkward. It's not unusable. It's not unusable. You can do it, as I've shown with videos I've done with the AMX 30B66, which is the one that comes before this, which doesn't have a premium APFSDS round like this vehicle does, which I load full APFSDS because the heat rounds can be frustrating when they just randomly get absorbed. But like I say, it's not absolutely unusable. I'd just rather not suffer the frustration of heat rounds getting randomly absorbed by T-72s, where you sit there going, really? Did that really get absorbed? Thanks, game. Or hitting leopards in the upper plate and having the heat round absorbed. That happens all the time as well. The Leopard 1A5, that is. Yeah, really can be quite annoying, genuinely. So we just eliminate that by firing full APCR, or full APFSDS, I should say. But yeah, the 30B2 is great because it's got a great top speed. It goes at 70 kilometers an hour. It's got great penetration if you use this APFSDS round at 482, which means it doesn't struggle. It's got that 460 alpha. You've got pretty decent view range at 512 meters. Lastly, you've got the great power to weight at 20.41 horsepower per ton ratio, so you hit the 70 kilometers an hour very, very easily. Your reload is 7.6 seconds base, which you'll be able to get down to a decent level even after the changes with the gun rammer and stuff like that. You've got a 2-second aim time, which means the gun aims in very, very quickly, which is also great, and 0.26 accuracy at 100 meters, which is extremely accurate, and means that most of the time, if you get this gun fully aimed, you will hit pretty much all of your shots. And by running the gun stabilizer and running gun and snapshot, you'll get the accuracy during rotation and movement down to a very good level as well, meaning that the aim circle just doesn't bloom out for this tank. And to be honest, this tank has an amazing accuracy during turret rotation as well, which means you don't really have to run snapshot, and it's just the movement that does affect the reticle for the vehicle, which just adds to the fact that this gun is absolutely fabulous. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression as well, which is very, very flexible for the AMX 30B2. Naturally, the only real downside to the vehicle for me is the fact that you've got no armour, and means you are pure paper, so any autocannon that comes near you and sniffs at you wrecks you, and also ATGMs love blowing you up and setting you on fire, so you do have to be very, very careful of that in your AMX 30B2. You've got 1,525 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APFSDS rounds that you see me using here, which is absolutely fantastic shell velocity. I mean, you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets. And then you've got this 20mm autocannon as well on your multi-weapon system that is just filth. It's just lovely to use against every lightly armoured vehicle you're going to come against, like the BMPs, like any of the light tanks, like yourself, your own 30B2s, or your own AMX 30s in general, leopards, that sort of thing, if you get them sideways on. You can't really pen much in the front, but you can pen them in the sides and rear very, very easily. But it's easy and fantastic for using against tanks like that M113 that you just saw me kill there, because I put a shot through him with the APFSDS round, switched to the multi-weapon system autocannon, and then went, right, you now die, right? That's the way it goes, and it's pretty good for picking up those kinds of kills. A little bit too good, to be honest, but that's just the autocannons in general in Era 2, and in Cold War in general. The autocannons are a little bit too good at destroying those sorts of things, but hey-ho, there we go. So, this replay here on this map, which is Siegfried Line, we're up to 8.3k damage so far, with 914 assistance damage. I'm trying to look for the kill on the Ignis Purgatio, because that guy could have hurt us with the ATGM or with his auto loader, because he's one of those that could clip us out quite easily. We're going for the shot into this guy. Okay, sure. That wall decided, even though I could see straight over it, that it was going to take my shell, and said, don't worry, I'm going to save you, bro. I'm going to just take the shell. Thanks, dude. Great, good times. But we managed to get the shots into this lower plate of the T-80, who's coming round. He gets finished off, though, before we managed to get that final shot in. With that, we've managed to deal with the threats that were coming after our base. Now, there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. There's the Centurion 9 and a BMP-2. Now, the BMP-2 sounds like lunch to me, because naturally I can pen him with the APFSDS round, but also the autocannon will absolutely wreck that guy, and, you know, we love doing that in the AMX 30s. So, we're just going to go on the outside. Why? Because if we go on the inside of this ridge and go straight at the Centurion 9 and the BMP, the likelihood is we're going to die. So we take the outside route just to keep ourselves safe, and we can get a better angle at the Centurion 9, cause a crossfire, and not take any hits ourselves. So we see the BMP2, aim for that drive wheel, track him in place, and then go to absolute town on him with the autocannon. Oh yeah, but we're always paying attention to the main weapon as well, because we were always paying attention to see if our main primary weapon was reloaded, because the moment it was, we were just going to use that to go put a shot into that BMP2 to finish him off, because it would take too long to just keep firing the autocannon. But we do secure a shot into that Centurion 9, and we finish the game with 4 kills, 12,708 damage, 1219 assistance, the ace tank of the high caliber, the Confederate medal, 1971 base XP, and that was going to be its own little video with the MX 30B2 replays, because I did end up 3-marking that vehicle, which is great, because then I've done all of the MX 30s in Era 2, but hey-ho, like I say, most of my replays will become obsolete from tomorrow, because they won't really represent the tanks anymore with the way that they play. But, well, that doesn't change the play styles, it just means that reloads generally across the board would be a lot lower, the accuracy a little bit worse, that sort of thing. Although it doesn't affect as many of the Cold War vehicles, because they've already got superb accuracy and accuracy during movement, rotation, that sort of thing anyway. Especially Era 3s. But I digress. We're on to the third replay. And this third replay, we're now with the independent Era 1 premium heavy tank. A tank that is absolutely bonkers in Era 1, to be fair. And that is the Throngver. And that is because this vehicle is just extremely mobile. It's got an amazing top speed at 60 kilometers an hour, with a really good power to weight of 19.29 horsepower per ton ratio, with an 810 horsepower engine, which means, yeah, you fly up to the top speed really, really easily, and at the minute, you can get it up to 69 giggity kilometers an hour at top speed with the powertrain and the traction system, but again, the traction system is going to disappear, so it would just be the powertrain that you can use to be able to make this thing faster, so you still get a bit extra top speed, but not quite as fast as it was. But the gun handling in general is a bit derpy, and it can be a bit frustrating. A lot of that is the shell velocity doesn't quite feel that good at 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APCR rounds. And that can make this gun feel a bit derpy when you're missing shots at distance and just be a bit frustrating in general. Because the Throngver has a .39 accuracy at 100 meters, which for Cold War standards is actually pretty derpy. There's not a great amount of vehicles that have worse accuracy than that. Not a lot. There is a few, but not a lot. And .39 accuracy is a bit derpy, and that means that you have to really make sure you're aiming your shots and giving the correct amount of lead to be able to hit your shots with this Throngver. You've got a 2.3 second aim time with the Throngver, which means that when you do come to a complete stop, it doesn't take too long to get this gun aimed in, though, which can be pretty nice. And especially after the current equipment update, the likelihood is you might be taking a GLD in your third or fourth slot, because you're naturally going to be losing the traction system. You'll probably be taking a GLD, so that aim time is going to get even better. The reload on this clip is 27.8 seconds, with a 3-second intra-clip reload, so it takes 6 seconds from firing the first shell to be able to get all of the damage out in this Thrungva. So it's actually pretty decently quick for pushing out that 1290 damage that you get in this clip, because it does have 430 alpha. You got 252 penetration on the standard APCR, which is enough to go through pretty much everything in Era 1, and you got 300 pen for some of the more trickier tanks to pen, like with that kind of penetration, like the M103, because M103 is a bit more tricky to pen than you'd think with 250 pen in Era 1 Cold War. You've got 12 degrees of gun depression as well for this vehicle, which is very, very good on the Thrungva. It makes you very, very nice to use a ridgeline, which is great. It's the natural habitat of this vehicle is use the mobility to get to aggressive ridgelines, go hull down, use the fantastic turret armor, and then just chonk out the clip from it, because the turret armor is nigh on impenetrable in Era 1. Nigh on. There's only a few tanks that can go through this turret armor, even when it's using its gun depression. Something like a 268 firing heat, foreshadowing, will go through the turret armor if you're not careful. So you do pick your tanks and your choices of tank to go against and sit there going, haha, you can't pen me, right? Do pick your tanks well, but generally, a lot of the vehicles in Era 1 won't pen the turret of this if it's using its full 12 degrees of gun depression, and because it's got that amazing mobility, it's got the flexibility to get in, dump a clip and run away. It's just what it does. It can do that so easily. And it's almost like a medium tank, not a heavy tank for that, because of how good the mobility is and how quick it is to dish out this kind of damage. But this replay here on this map, which is Mountain Pass, we're already up to 4,100 damage, and we're going for shots now into the lower plate of this IS-4. Now, thanks, gun. Now, I said there's some tanks that we will struggle to pen with 252 pen on the APCR, and IS-4 is one of them. We need the 300 heat pen to go through that guy's lower plate, so that's what we're doing. He ends up shooting us through the smoke, but thankfully we ricochet the shot off our upper plate. The heat rounds are getting into the tank, and I'm going, hello friend, I'm just going to face hug you now, which will make it very difficult because you have to go through my hull armor to be able to pen me, and by shoving my turret in your face, it's, with your lack of gun depression, panicking you to miss your shots, or just not even take the shot. And that's the sort of thing you can do in a Thrungva, or quite a few tanks in Era 1 to be fair. If you have good hull, or not the greatest of hull armor, but you have good turret armor, and you go against a vehicle like an IS-4 that's not got the best gun depression in the universe, and you just go face hug them, you end up panicking them. And to be honest, even if you've not really got much armor anyway, you can do that, because you can end up panicking people so much that they go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, where do I pen it, where do I pen it, where do I pen it, and then they can die, like what happened to the IS-4. So, we're up to 6,044 damage because we caught out the people that went under the bridge. And again, this tank is perfect for this because it's got 12 degrees of gun depression. It can abuse this ridge and this bridge very, very easily. So we're just waiting for the reload, keeping our eye on the tanks using the third person. I was thinking about going down, but I can actually get shots at Mr. IS-4 here, which we end up finishing him off and going straight for the reload. I go straight for the reload because I want the full clip loaded in case anything comes after us. This game is still 5-5. It is very, very close. There's only a light tank left in the cap, and he's being chased by a full health 4005 and a 268, which we're just not going to go deal with. So I need to go and get some shots into these guys who are trying to get under the bridge. So we get one shot into the rear of the T95E3. The F46A1 pattern is just driving out sideways on in front of us, which we're going to take every single time. So we drop all 3 shells there into the M46A1. Well, 2 into the M46A1, 1 into the T. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We've got all 3 of the shells out. And now I'm going to use this little ridgeline in front of me to protect myself from the barbarian hordes that approach us. So, the 4005 looked like it was coming this way, the 268 looked like it was coming this way, and it looked like there was a medium tank in the middle as well. And it's a T95E3, so we go straight for the track there, finish him off, go for the cupola shot, or the little machine gun port, and finish him off straight away. Go instantly for the reload, because there's no point holding on to one shell. I'm going to need all 3 shells for whatever decides to drive around that corner next. And the time that it ends up spending reloading is going to be worth it. So we see the 268. Hello, Mr. 268. I'll sit there going, he's not really going to pen me. Oh my goodness me, that was heat. Yep, he penned us with the heat round. The only thing that he could actually pen us with there, sad times, but he paid for that play, and that is he put us down to 51 hit points, but we managed to put the 2 shots in there to finish him off, and absolutely perfect, because that means we can load the last 3 shells of APCR we've actually got in the tank. We're up to 8.8k damage with 999 assistance. We know there's a 4005 somewhere around that corner, so he's not driven round yet, which I was quite surprised about, but he's actually turned to face, and he's got a bit distracted by the light tank. So we're going to go after him, and oh boy, no, please don't do it. I'm just going to hide behind here in case he decides to take a shot, because if he fires Hesh or HE at me, I'm going to die. But he ends up going, hello, Mr. Skoda. Have you heard of a thing called Hesh? And deletes the poor Skoda, giving me the opportunity to drive over and clip him out. And we put ourselves onto 7 kills there, with the 99 assistance, because, yeah, that's some great assistance damage, with 9,934 damage. Now, that is some pretty great total of damage. With only 1 vehicle left on the enemy team, it's a T95E3, and we don't really have any clue where that T95E3 is, because God knows where he is. He's somewhere. We've only got heat rounds left. We've got 3 clips of it, so we'll be able to kill the guy quite easily. And we're just going to go searching. So we've got this little ridge line in front of me here, which I can poke over and try and spot the corner if he needs to. But this is where the Throngver is pretty nice, and is just like a medium tank. It's just like a medium tank, because that mobility is so good. So you can see me using true vision. I'm just poking my camera over ridge lines to try and see if I can see any sort of movement from that T95E3 if he was to cross. But there we go. The T95E3 ends up getting spotted by the light tank down at H8. So with that T95E3 getting spotted there, I did think about going through the middle and going up behind him at G5. But I decided no, if he's going to kill the light tank, the likelihood is he's going to probably go and sit in the cap. So instead, what I want to do is go to this position over here at H9. And if he does decide to cap, I've got the perfect ridge line to use my 12 degrees of gun depression. He's not going to pen us through the turret unless he fights HE and gets lucky and splashes us to death. And we should be able to at least clip him out or get some big shots in. So the T95E3 ends up driving out directly into our path. We put 1 shot into his rear, waiting on the clip, 2 shots in, sets him on fire. Oh, we can't find the 3rd shot because we've got heat in. And we can't pick up our 8th kill of the game, because we couldn't fire through the destructible cover with heat because it just get absorbed. Oh, so awkward. But we finished the game with 7 kills, 10,987 damage. The ace tanker, the top gun, the high caliber, with the other medal for 7 kills, whatever is for the Independent Alliance, and nearly 2.2k base XP. An amazing game there for the Throngver, which is the Era 1 Independent Heavy Tank, which is, yeah, just a bonkers tank in Era 1. Honestly, it's so good because it's got everything. That's the thing with it. It's got absolutely everything. It's got the damage output. It's got the mobility. It's got the fantastic armour. It's just one of those fantastic all-round vehicles that quite easily just slays in Era 1. But now, we're on to the 4th and final replay, which is this Eastern Alliance Era 2 Premium Heavy Tank, the Object 272M, which is basically an upgraded version of the T10 or a T10M that has ATGMs. So you're basically playing a T10B from the tech tree, but all of the stats are generally better. And then throw in a multi-weapon system set of ATGMs. It means you can, just like every other vehicle that's got multi-weapon system, ATGMs, and a very good main cannon, you can just consistently keep damage rocking up. And these kinds of vehicles are capable of doing big damage if they're left alone, because you do have that fantastic damage capacity. Because this is a very, very good support vehicle. If you become the focus of people's attention, you die very, very quickly. And also your armor means very, very little in Era 2, because it's not very good armor, to be honest. Which means that anything that can snapshot you will snapshot you and pen you. Now, you do have angles, just like a bat chat does. say the Ignis Pagatia, for example, that bounces a ridiculous amount of shots. You sit there going, how did that bounce? And it's because angles exist, and it means that this tank can ricochet shots, but don't ever try and rely on it, because it's going to go badly for you. But it is a fantastic support tank, in the fact that if you put yourself in good positions to keep damage going, and not take hits yourself, you will rack up damage pretty consistently very easily, because, like I say, the main cannon is a bit derpy at times, but generally it's very consistent. And then you've got ATGMs that are incredibly slow. They are, and that's the worst bit about the ATGMs, is just how incredibly slow they are. But when they do hit, they pack a punch. And you're already seeing the gun being a bit derpy in general with some of the shots it takes that you sit there going, how did that miss? Really? Thanks for that. And this is what I'm talking about with accuracy in Cold War generally. You've got 0.27 accuracy base. 0.27 accuracy base. Which, for any gun in World War II that's got that kind of accuracy, it's pinpoint. But, oh no, for some reason, it just decides it's going to miss loads of shots in Era 2 or Era 3. That was also a very bad shot. That was not the tank, that was me. That was just terrible, just putting it out there. But yeah, 0.27 accuracy, and you consider that we've also got some crew skills on here to make the accuracy better as well, and it still misses shots. So you sit there going, but with the accuracy stats we've got, we shouldn't be missing these shots. Yeah, that's Cold War accuracy. Sometimes it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense to the stats you see on the page. But hey-ho. It doesn't correlate, but that's hey-ho. That's what we go for. So, the 272M, it's got the pretty decent top speed at 51 kilometers an hour. It's not amazing top speed, but it's pretty decent. 20 kilometers an hour reverse speed. 14.73 horsepower per ton ratio, which isn't the best for an Era 2 vehicle, but it doesn't get held back to provide terrain resistances, so it's a fairly mobile vehicle. You got 401 penetration on the standard APDS rounds, 520 pen on the heat rounds, and 120 pen on the HE for 680 damage. The gun is basically the same as the one that you've got on the Footcruiser that we started the video off with, but instead of ATGMs on the third shell, you get HE. The reload base on this tank is 8.6 seconds, which means you get it around the 8-second mark after the update, probably. 2.1 second aim time is very, very good. It means the gun does get aimed in very, very quickly. You've got 1,620 meters a second shell velocity on the APDS rounds, which is incredibly quick. If you load the HE, you've got 885 meters a second shell velocity, so they're a lot slower, meaning they feel a lot more derpy if you do try and use them. But they can be useful with 120 pen against some of the more lightly armored vehicles, and you can up your damage quite significantly. On the multi-weapon system ATGMs, so to get, obviously, the multi-weapon system, you hold A for my controller scheme. You have 520mm of penetration, which is good enough to go through a lot of vehicles, but it's not fantastic ATGM penetration. But you've got 800 damage on those ATGMs, so they do hit quite hard when they do go through, and naturally, they have the pretty good module damage, so if they hit an ammo rack and stuff like that, you're likely to pop it. You've got 130 meters a second shell velocity on those ATGMs, so pure pain. Very, very, very slow ATGMs, meaning if you fire them at tanks at great range, it's going to be a very, very difficult time for them to hit the target unless the vehicle doesn't move. They are just incredibly slow, and I can't get that across to you how slow they are. They are really, really slow compared to a lot of the other ones in Era 2 these days. The vehicle also has 5 degrees of gun depression, which is very Soviet and very inflexible. I mean, you have to be careful on the ridge lines you pick, and like this position here, it's going to have to be all the way over to be able to get the gun down on target. Now, we did end up playing the 272M a lot. If you want to see the session that we had with the 272M, I did play most of my games in this tank on stream. You can go check that out on the channel. It's up there somewhere in the live section. We did end up playing a lot of games in this tank, and this was the best game that I actually had in it, and we've had an absolute stormer, and that's because most of the time we've been facing things. They haven't been shooting at us. We've just been able to drive up and go, hello, friend. You're shooting at my friends. I will shoot at you. We've managed to secure quite a bit of damage, as you've seen. 12,700, make that 13,103 damage, 823 assistance. Can we get near the 14k mark that we've hit? I've hit at least 7 or 8 times in Era 2 with stuff like the WZ-122 and the WZ-1224. Is it the 1224? There was one of the Ultimate Pass reward tanks or something like that. We've hit it a couple of times anyway, 14k, so it's always a nice marker to hit. And we're just trying to go for it, as there's only 2 tanks left. There is the medium tank that's in front of us, the AMX 30B2, and a light tank. So the 30B2 looks like he's absolutely chucking himself down the 9-0 line. So is there any point in us continuing the climb up this hill? No, there's not. We may as well get after him. Just trying to aim up the shot as he drove round, but we couldn't quite find it. There we go. He drives out and stops. That was just purely unlucky. He ended up stopping, so the ATGM hit him at a very awkward angle and didn't pen him. We get a nice shot though into the Armada A1 before he gets finished off. Use the ATGM, the multi-weapon system, because even though we were too close, we knew that we'd still do about 200 damage with him with the doink shot, and that's what we did, securing the kill. We finished the game with 6 kills, 14,445 damage, 823 assistance damage, 441,000 silver, and that was without a silver booster. The Ace Tanker, the High Caliber, the Top Gun, for 2.1k base XP. An amazing game there for the Object 272M, which, like I say, is just a fairly average Era 2 premium heavy tank, to be fair. It's a very good support vehicle. Like I say, if you keep yourself in a supporting location where you're not getting shot at, you really can keep the damage racking up, but there's quite a few vehicles in Era 2 that can also do that too. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!